for this summer, and I want you to play a important role in this. And you can imagine I'm a 27-year-old teacher, and I want you to be the director of this project called Campaign Culture. Okay, so I was like exalted. I was really like on a mountaintop, so to speak. For him asking me to be the director of this project.
You did a great job. I don't know if you ever remembered me, but I was a teacher. I was a teacher in the program each year, and the year that you were director of the program, it was every year was magnificent. But that year that you directed the program at Pratt, it was quite memorable to me.
Thank you.
We accomplished a great deal.
Thank
great
you very
leadership.
much.
Great
Well,
leadership.
I really.
And I'm going to, when I'm listening to you tell this beautiful story. I don't want to interrupt you, but we didn't talk about the sculpture. Sculpture was part of this too.
Yes, it
the
was.
sculpture and the painting and the music, the dance, the poetry, the writing, all of these things were they were just the tapestry or I can't even think of a word to describe the interrelatedness of all of the arts and how nourishing it was for the children at the time.
Yes.
And I might add that your teachings about health issues, and I remember Lefty used to go up to the Bronx and buy the vegetables and the fruits and everything.
Right.
But you incorporated teachings about health with the arts and with the academics. And I dare say the children were healthier, smarter, wiser, stronger. But I don't want to interrupt your narrative.
No, we had a great staff during that period. And
beautiful, wonderful, powerful,
most talented people that I know.
Creative people.
Very good. And surprisingly, they all came out of Brooklyn, too.
Not surprisingly. We'll get back to that at the end, but go on.
Anyway, so one of the highlights of that summer, which I remember very vividly, was one day Willie Jones told me, he said, Max Roach is going to come down, and he's going to come on this particular afternoon, and he's going to do a concert for the kids, And we had the Pratt campus as our sort of location, and we picked out a spot on the campus, and we set up the sound systems, etc. And on this particular day, all the youngsters, I think there were about 400 youngsters in the program, they all sat around in a circle, and Max came, and he talked. And he talked about his life, and he talked about being involved with the music and places that he's been in Europe and Africa and so on and so forth. And then after his talk, he then demonstrated. And he started off demonstrating with the drums. And then after the drums, he demonstrated with the other musicians that came along with him that day. And it was a fantastic presentation, and the kids were like, they were in awe. They were really in awe. And it made me feel that one of the things about our music, which our young people do not get, is they don't get a chance to talk to and learn from our musicians, you know what I mean? And then there's this expectation that they're supposed to be like a natural kind of a passing of information, but they don't get a chance to learn from and to talk to. And this happened at Campaign Culture. And so his participation in Campaign Culture, to me, was like one of the highlights of that summer. Yes, it was. So,
and time goes on.
Yeah.
Now take us from 1968 on. Now, when did he come down and play at the East?
Well, he came and played at the East 2 weeks after his twin daughters were born in the early 70s. I think it was 71. And first of all, the East was an educational and cultural center that was developed in Brooklyn, and it opened its doors in January of 1970. And the Brooklyn community simply supported this concept wholeheartedly, okay? and we never had a slow season, a slow day. From the very time, from the very weekend that we opened, the people just poured out and supported us overwhelmingly. You know?
Now, the African Street Festival, did it start that same year?
No,
or
it started the year after.
The year after.
Uh-huh. It started in 1972 was the first year of the African Street Festival. But anyway.
And many people, by the way, don't know that that was the birthplace of the African Street Festival.
Yes, it was.
Which is grown to an institution now.
There were
and has spawned many other such festivals throughout the country.
Yes.
Yeah.
And many people don't know that many things that were developed in the area of black culture and black arts came from the experiences that we had at the East, okay? So this experience of having the top quality musicians play on the weekends, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, this was an early sort of objective, an early goal of the organization. And it wasn't soon after we opened that we made contact with Max Roach, and he agreed to come down. At the time, he was then teaching at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. And I remember the day that he came down. He came in the afternoon, or the early afternoon, maybe about 1 o'clock or so. And he said that he wanted to come in and set up his drums. And, you know, we had our youngsters there, you know. At the time, you know, we ran a school at also called the Uhuru Sasa School. And the youngsters was there in school, and they saw this man setting up his drums on the stage. And quite naturally, you know, there was a great curiosity about this process. And next thing I know, there were 2 or 3 classes downstairs in the auditorium watching Max Roach set up his drums and in the process talking with him about what each drum did, what each part of the drum did, and getting, again, a musical education that was just not going to be possible unless this kind of exchange took place. So right from there, it was thrilling. And then the rest of the weekend, of course, was historic. I remember the Bridgewater brothers, Cecil and Ronald, Cecil and Ron Bridgewater. They were playing with Max at the time. Cecil was playing trumpet and his brother was playing saxophone. And these were local brothers from the East, you know, that we saw grow up in the community. And to see them playing with Max, who was the recognized master at that time, it was a great charge through the community. And a lot of people came out to witness this kind of historic event of the Bridgewater brothers playing with Max. And of course, at the time, Cecil was married to Dee Dee Bridgewater, you know, the famous singer, and she was on the scene that weekend, and it was quite a memorable weekend that we had at the East that first weekend that Max played, you know. And during the time that the East was open, Max played at least once a year for a period of about 3 to 4 years. Okay, he sort of made a commitment to us that he would play at least once a year. He liked what we were doing. He liked the idea that we were using this emphasis on our music and our culture as a way of raising revenues to run our school and to provide a vehicle for our young people to get an education. And he promised that he would support this type of effort throughout the time that it was going on, and he did.
He was such a catalyst for so many things.
Yes,
so
he
many
was.
things.
Yes, he was. And by him making that kind of commitment, we were also able to get that kind of commitment from a lot of other outstanding performers. Betty Carter, she made the same kind of commitment and honored it also. And Rasan Roland Kirk, he made the same kind of commitment. Gary Bartz, I can mention a whole long list.
Go on, mention a few.
Randy Weston and so forth, who made that kind of commitment based upon the leadership of Max Roach, you know. Yeah. So So during the time of the East, from 1970 to 1980,
I'm going to have to interrupt you because we have only a few minutes left.
mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you if we could kind of, because we could talk for the next few hours about Max Roach.
Yes, we could.
But in 2 or 3 minutes, if you could kind of take us from then up to the present.
Okay.
With your wonderful stories about Max Roach.
All right. Well, after the East sort of, wound down in the 80s, I became involved with a lot of things political in the 80s. I was active in the Jesse Jackson campaign and other areas of black politics, the election of Mayor David Dinkins, and so on and so forth. And I did not keep up with or in close touch with Max during that period. But after the 80s, by the end of the 90s, I had gotten involved with a number of different efforts to sort of resurrect the music in our community. And those efforts led me to become involved with a group called the Central Brooklyn Jazz Consortium. And this consortium was made up of people like Alma Carroll, the wife of the late Joe Carroll, Torrey McCartney, who was doing a lot of wonderful production in Brooklyn. The late Torrey McCartney, unfortunately, was doing a lot of music production in Brooklyn. Viola Plummer, she had just opened up a space called Sister's Place. And all these folks kind of like set me down one day and said, look, we want to start this Central Brooklyn Jazz Consortium. We want to, uplift the quality of the music in our community, and we want you to play a leading role in this effort. And so I got involved with the Central Brooklyn Jazz Consortium. And then in the year of 2002, we had a program where every February we would honor masters of our community who had done outstanding things in music. And under that program, we were able to pay tribute to Max Roach. We were able to pay tribute to Chief Bay, the late James Chief Hawthorne Bay. We were able to pay tribute to Randy Weston. And we are still paying tribute to various artists and different musical producers during the month of February. We call this our African American History Month tributes. And in 2002, Max was our subject. And we did this at the Concord Baptist Church of Christ.
His church.
Yes, which was historically his church, his family's church. And we got tremendous support from the Reverend Gary Simpson, who is the leader of that church. And not only did he support us with using his facility, but he also supported us financially and so forth. And we were able to give a tribute to Max, which we have on tape and which will be a memorable momentum in our archives, okay? And interestingly enough, on that day, even though he was the subject of the tribute and a lot of people played his music and honored him, at the end, he gave a sort of 10-minute demonstration of the cymbals, how to work with the cymbals, and that was just out of sight. It was just out of sight.
Brother Jitu, I want to thank you for coming here today. I'm so honored. My audience is honored. I'm sure. I know they are. I'd like to let you know that the painting in back of us was done by my daughter, Ramona Gittins.
Oh, wonderful.
As a tribute to Max. And I want to thank you for tuning in today. And please tune in again next week because I will be doing a series of conversations in honor of Max Roach. Good night, and thanks for joining us on Link. Thank you so much, Brother Jitu. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.